My sister lives in a more rural area and has recently been plagued with having her mailbox smashed in twice in 1 month. Someone was playing mailbox baseball, and she was one of the victims. She asked for my help and was worried about staying within the law to protect herself. I told her that we could figure something out, so I went to Home Depot and purchased 2 identical steel mailboxes, the traditional kind with the rounded top. I took one mailbox and glued a layer of 1/16 foam underlayment to the inside. I filled it with concrete, making sure to add the appropriate rebar with a curved handle sticking out of the end. Once everything was set, I cut off the outer mailbox shell and used a torch to burn off the foam underlayment, still stuck to the concrete. What was left was a slightly undersized concrete plug that would perfectly fit in the second mailbox and that could be inserted and removed. You see, my sister is afraid of snakes. By inserting the concrete plug into the mailbox at night, it would give her the peace of mind that a snake can't get into her mailbox. I installed the second mailbox, informed my sister how the anti-snake concrete plug worked, and explained that the best time to put it in the mailbox would be at night. Strangely enough, one morning there was a mark on her new mailbox and a bunch of small glass pieces along the road. Hypothetically speaking, it was the kind of glass produced by someone swinging a baseball bat, having it bounce back off of a mailbox, and smashing a car window. On a positive note, her mailbox has remained snake-free. So, first off, this story took place in January of this year. At the same store I worked where shopping cart Karen tried stealing a little cart that belonged to the employees. This store also has online shopping, which has boomed significantly since the pandemic. Usually, if someone had an issue with a product that was in their order, they can either call the store and get a refund or replaced, or go up to the service desk, customer service, and ask for a refund or replacement there. Simple as that, right? Apparently not for the entitled mother in this story. And here is the star-studded cast. Me, a 21-year-old worker, entitled mother, customer service lady, co-worker, and finally the manager. So it was around 2 in the afternoon, and I was standing in the back room where orders are stored and sorted out, counting down the minutes until my lunch break. That's when the store phone rang and a coworker of mine answered. After about a minute of talking, she hung up. I was a tad nosy, so I asked her about it. Me, customer, coworker. Yeah, she seemed really mad and stuff. Apparently something about her order was off, so she said she's coming inside to talk to the manager and
Yeah.
Me, all right? I bit worried. It wasn't uncommon if a customer wanted to talk to the manager about a certain order being messed up or was given gross-looking food, and usually those people are nice about it. However, if the manager looks into it and the order is traced back to you, you would get a lot of flack for it for sending out wrong or bad orders without checking it first. Well, it was 2 p.m., time for lunch. I decided to hand over my key card to the coworker before heading off. But before I officially went on break, I decided to discreetly pass by the service desk customer service, because that's usually where customers meet with the manager to talk about problems and complaints. I wanted to see if the item or items they bring in was something that I picked earlier that day. As I slowly passed by the service desk, I suddenly noticed a blonde, heavyset, middle-aged woman wearing all pink storming into the store with a bag of avocados in her hand. If this was the customer, then I was good because I don't remember picking any avocados for the order. I stood next to a cookie stand and pretended to text on my phone in order to see if this was the customer. The woman passed by and I watched as she stopped near the service desk and began to rip open the bag of avocados. Very weird, but as I looked up again, I watched in horror as the lady took one of the avocados, went up to the service desk and hurled it at the lady working customer service, who at the time was helping another customer. The avocado missed her and hit a cabinet door with a loud thud, almost like a hockey puck. The customer service lady jolted forward as a reflex while everyone around her just backed up quickly. The lady then stripped off her mask and began to yell at the customer service lady. And while I didn't stay for the whole conversation, this is what I was able to hear. Entitled Mother. You think this is a joke? You think you can sell this to people? Customer service lady. Ma'am, did you just throw an avocado at me? Yes, I did. I paid $4 for these and they are hard as a rock. My kids can't eat this. They're dangerous. You people are trying to rip me off and I won't let you. I demand to speak to a manager. Now, and with that, she threw another avocado, once again missing the customer service lady and hitting another cabinet door. And that's when I decided to leave. And I took off running towards the break room, still able to hear that crazy lady yelling as I got there. I saw my manager walk quickly out of her office and I began to tell her about the woman. But apparently she was already informed via text by a friend who was working top stock near the front of the store. I decided to then clock out for lunch, but to stay in the break room until I knew everything was okay. About 30 minutes later, with some workers going in and out briefly talking about the crazy lady up front, I could see my manager heading back to her office. Curious, I ask. Me. Is everything okay? Manager. Yep, all good. We called the police. They came and collected a woman, and that was that. So she was arrested? Oh, absolutely. She threw a bunch of avocados at people. I mean, who does that? Yikes. So, yeah, in the end, this entitled mother was arrested. I don't know what happened to her after that, and I honestly do not wish to find out. But to think that this mother went completely crazy over a bag of avocados that she could have asked nicely to replace with no extra charge, but no. She decided to throw them at customer service staff and then demanded to talk to the manager with no mask on. Yeah, sorry, lady. That's not how life works. It happened this Saturday evening at around 7:30 p.m. I was about to start my night shift with my partner and our trainee. After checking the ambulance, we were on the way to get some things from the supermarket. As we arrived, we parked on the site near the containers for glass. The owner of the market is okay with that. He was a volunteer firefighter a few years ago. He knows us and we did not block anything or anyone. The most important thing is that we could roll out fast if a call comes in. However, me and my partner left the ambulance to buy some things. The trainee didn't need anything and wanted to make a phone call, so he stayed at the vehicle. Man, he regrets it. We came back 20 minutes later and saw a woman talking to him. It didn't bother us at first. Often people are interested in our new ambulance or just have some questions. As we were getting closer, we heard what was going on. A wild Karen appeared. So you guys are staying here illegally and wasting time and taxpayer money instead of working? I told you already we are ready to go if a call comes in. But as long as it is quiet, we are able to get some things for the station, the trainee told her. Listen to me, you guys have to wait at your station until the phone rings. I'll call your chief and inform him. Me and my partner arriving and stashing our things in the ambulance. Oh, there are the adults? Are you having a Corona party? Karen asked sarcastically. I bought a 1-liter bottle of cola and some noodles to microwave. My partner bought a can of Red Bull and lasagna. Party people favorites, I guess. Could you please change your tone? We are not your children. Look at him, points at the trainee. He's merely a child. You know, he is an ongoing paramedic and you need to have respect. Karen rolls her eyes, then says, whatever, that's not my point. I wanted to let you know that I'm going to report you for illegal parking and wasting taxpayers' money for trips to the market. Like my colleague explained, we have our pagers on the belt. If it rings, we run to the car and get to the call. She interrupts me. But you have still illegally parked your vehicle. You are blocking the other spaces. I think I need to tell the store owner and the police about that. There was nothing near us, just a larger way for delivery trucks and some glass containers. These were also not blocked by us. If you want to do that, go ahead, but you will waste your time. The owner knows that we park here. She sighs and rolls her eyes. That's a lie. All right, time for the manager. You'll see what will happen. As she went in, we asked the trainee what the hell had happened. She just took pictures of him in the ambulance and interrupted his phone call by loudly starting to tell him that he is doing something illegal. He explained everything at least 3 times to her before we came. We laughed about it and told him that he will get used to this kind of people. A few moments later, Karen came with the manager and pointed at us like a dead dog on a bag of cocaine. Can you see what I mean? They're blocking the traffic without any call or other reason. It's illegal. The manager comes over and speaks to us. Hey guys, you are the new shift, I hope? He asks. Hey sir. Yeah, we haven't had calls yet. This lady told me you have parked illegally and you are blocking my other customers. No, we're just at the spot that you told me and other colleagues about. It's okay here, you said, right? My partner asked. Yeah, that's fine. Karen in a real disgusting tone. How can you support this behavior? They're wasting taxpayers' money? I allowed them to park here. Their vehicle is too big for the normal lines and they need to go quick if a call comes in. They're currently not on a call. They're just hanging out here. And they need supplies too. If a call comes in, they will act fast. That's it. I'm telling the police and your chief about this. All right, I'll give you his number and you let us alone? My partner asked her. What? You know what? Just give it to me. My partner takes a paper and writes the number of our chief on it. Here you go. I even wrote the time, date, and ambulance number on it. She takes the paper and says nothing. I hope you know who you are upsetting with this. You clearly don't know what it means to get a call where you need to decide in seconds what to do, or someone could die, the manager tells her. And that's their job. Not only a job. Think about it. So would you mind leaving these people alone? And if you keep that behavior up, I won't be interested in any more business with you. She rolls her eyes and walks away. Sorry for that. Some people are just a bit special. If your chief says anything, he can call here and I'll tell him what I saw. The manager tells us, never mind. We're used to special people in this job. Amen to that. People are getting insane these days. After that, we drove back to the station and told the other ambulance crews about it. They all burst out laughing and shake their heads. Cheers. Let's set the stage. Me, Ellie, my boyfriend Tom, Tom's friend John, John's fiancée Jane, and Jane's sister Karen Tom and John had been friends for years and hung out quite often. John had lost his first wife and infant son in a car accident years prior. John had found love again in Jane and would bring Jane along. Tom was also starting to bring me along. Lately, Karen was also starting to tag along. Karen also had 2 children from 2 prior marriages and could not afford babysitting, so she'd bring them along. This prevented us from doing adult activities and talking about adult topics. I had also noticed Karen constantly giving me a chronic witch face look. Then she seemed to make every excuse to be around Tom. Once, Jane's car needed new spark plugs. Tom's a pretty good mechanic, so he offered to change them for her. Right behind Jane was Karen. Karen would also make every excuse to get between me and Tom and get me away from her kids. She also started to give me faces that said, "Stay away from him and you're the only reason why I can't have him." After John and Jane got married, John and Jane wanted to take Tom and I out to dinner, a double date. We made sure it was just 4 of us. Well, 10 minutes before dinner, we got word that Karen and her kids would be joining us. At the dinner table, I was playing a math game with Karen's son. Tom was doing the same with her daughter. Out of the blue, Karen yells in my face, "No math at the dinner table," but left Tom alone. I later asked Tom if he felt that Karen was trying to hit on him. Tom said yes. Tom assured me that he had no interest in Karen, and even if I wasn't his girlfriend, he still would not have interest in her. She's not his type. He wouldn't even consider her as a friend. The only reason why he treats her as a friend is because she's John's sister-in-law. If Karen was a teen or someone in her early 20s, I would have brushed this off as immaturity. But Karen was a woman in her mid-30s. Over the course of a year, things progressively got worse. Now, aside from tagging along with John or Jane to see Tom, Karen was coming to Tom's place alone. Tom kept brushing her off, telling her he was busy. Karen never seemed to get the memo. We would even blatantly mention the book and movie "He's Just Not That Into You" during conversations. At one point, I was even afraid she was going to try and hurt or kill me just to get Tom. Finally, one day, Karen showed up and Tom's mom was also there. Having known what had been happening, Mom confronted Karen. Mom said that Tom and Ellie are together and that Tom has no interest in her. If she shows up unannounced one more time, she will help Tom and I file a restraining order against her. Also, that she had a black belt in karate. She does. And that her husband has a nice arsenal of guns. He does, and isn't afraid to loan us some. Tom also called Jane to tell her that the next time Karen showed up uninvited to a get-together, he and I would be the ones canceling. Although Karen stopped showing up unannounced, she became super friendly with Tom at parties and get-togethers, especially when I wasn't there. John had a birthday party at Karen's house. I could not attend due to work. Tom told me that virtually the whole time Karen would follow him and offer him a seat, even in the middle of the hall. For those of you wondering why Tom didn't just tell Karen to knock it off, Tom does not like confrontation. Tom is also a large guy, 6'5", 300 lbs. But he's a gentle giant and quite a softie. He doesn't like people thinking he is big and tough, so he doesn't show it. Quite often, he did mention to Karen that he had a girlfriend and was happy with her. Like me, he assumed a twice-divorced 30-something-year-old woman would know better. He also talked to John and Jane about Karen. Jane said she would handle her sister, but we're assuming she never did. Why, you'll find out next. This story has a very twisty end. John and Jane divorced after 18 months of marriage. When Jane and John first met, Jane had a lot of credit card debt. She had a sob story about how it was to help her mom. After they got married, John helped pay off all the debt. After the debt was paid off, Jane started maxing out their credit cards and transferred a majority of the money in their joint bank accounts into her personal account. Then she walked out and filed for divorce, leaving John with all the debts. No Jane meant no Karen. We later found out Jane never changed her name to John's last name, even though she claimed she had. Looking back, Karen was probably going to do the same thing to Tom. Fortunately, Tom wasn't interested. Tom and I have since gotten married and started a family. This was a little over 10 years ago in my early 20s, but it's still one of my favorite stories of karma that suited well to my revenge. As a teenager, I got a part-time job as a lifeguard at the biggest pool in the city, if not the province. I was a hard worker, and over the years I had every certification I could get. Over the summers, I'd often work on nearby beaches. One year, these rural beaches had a really hard time keeping staff, so they'd ask people from my pool to work there. It just so happened my parents had a cottage on one of the beaches, and I said, hey, I'd be interested in working at middle of nowhere beach. It'd be peaceful, and I can come home on weekends if I want. I took the job, about 4 hours away from home for a 10-week contract. I was a lifeguard instructor trainer. I certified people to teach other people how to train lifeguards. At the time of this story, I was one of the youngest to have this certification. Most of my coworkers were going into their second year of working on this beach, and frankly, second year of being a lifeguard. It was going to be my first year working in this area. Basically, the head manager told me, look, it's your first time working out here. We need someone with your experience. We can't give you beach captain position and management on paper, but we are willing to pay you at a beach captain rate plus extra for your certifications, and you can fill in as beach captain on days when the others can't. As far as we're concerned, you're an alternate. We just don't want to upset the locals more than we need to. Be advised, though, you may need to work at a few other beaches out around there, have more pay, fewer responsibilities. Yeah, I guess I can take this one for the team. Here's what you need to know about this place. The area is a naturally beautiful place. This is one of the best drives on the continent, one of the top 10 islands in the world. Mountains to the left, endless ocean to the right, beaches everywhere. It's also one of the poorest parts of the country, and some communities have a mob mentality when outsiders come to work here. For the most part, my coworkers liked me and appreciated my experience, except for the one beach captain we'll call Maggie. Everyone employed goes to a training camp retreat. District managers go for 5 days. Beach captains go for 4 days, and general staff go for 3 days. I was only asked to show up for the general staff. Did my thing, met my new coworkers. Maggie rubbed me the wrong way and started calling me rookie, and then she left. Turns out she was graduating high school and had prom to attend. She didn't want to do the rest of the training because of all the after-prom parties. Okay, that's weird. I'm waking up at 7 a.m. to do a 10 kilometers run with everyone before breakfast, and you passed out after a night of drinking. I'm annoyed, but if I could pull it off, I might do the same. No biggie. How could she pull off getting out of mandatory training, you ask? She's a family legacy. Once upon a time, her mom was the beach captain and now runs the local pool in the middle of nowhere town. If you were certified as a lifeguard around there, you had to go through her. Maggie's sister was the beach captain, then district manager, and recently retired from the service and went to nursing school. Maggie was the next in line to do this. She was going to be awarded a scholarship through the lifeguard service for her school of choice. At the end of the summer, there's an AGM where they make all these announcements, but it was a well-known secret. Day 1 of the summer on the beach starts. We're setting up the beach. It's a half day. Not many patrons around. We organize first aid kits, equipment, set up our hut, test the phones, etc. District manager, a local, arrives to inspect everything. He's happy, he's a buddy of mine, and as we were the last stop of his beaches to inspect, he hangs out with us. Day's up, and Maggie's mother shows up and tells her to start packing for the swimming instructor's symposium. Turns out Maggie is leaving tomorrow for the Dominican Republic on her pool's dime for 3 weeks. That's 30 of the lifeguard season. She actually tells me, "See you in 3 weeks, rookie," and leaves. The district manager and I drop our jaws and wonder what just happened. Why is this only coming out now? I help him out. We sit down and come up with a new schedule for the next 3 weeks. My supervisor filled in some of her shifts, and we even worked together a few times. Now, it looks like I have to be a beach captain with the actual new guards. At least 3 weeks. It was more work for me, but honestly, Maggie's departure was a blessing. I've hardly met her, but I doubt we're going to get along. She rubs me the wrong way. Those 3 weeks without her, I got a great feng shui, zen groove, and inner harmony thing going on. It was the healthiest mentally and physically I've been in my life. Of course, the lack of negative emotions directed toward me would not last. It ended the day Maggie returned literally within the first hour of us working together. Maggie, my beach captain, started our day together by berating me in front of her friends. "Hey, rookie, do you even know how to do CPR? I was watching you at training camp and you were doing it wrong. I need you to show me how to do it right now. You want me to show you how to do CPR? Sure, no problem. You could ask nicer, but whatever, I'll put up with this. We have to practice so much every day anyway." Then she drops this bit of information while I practice incorrectly. "If you don't have anything under them, you'll dig a hole in the sand." Maggie, this doesn't make sense, but whatever. It's not like I'm an instructor in this or anything, or have basic knowledge of physics that pushing on sand isn't the same thing as digging. The whole day consisted of Maggie calling me rookie and being pointlessly rude in her critiques of my life-saving skills. Of course, it wouldn't be a good work story unless someone stole someone's lunch. "Hey, Maggie, is that my lunch in your mouth right now?" "Oh, is that your lunchbox?" "Well, it wasn't your lunchbox, was it? I'm the beach captain. You can't talk to me like that." This would become our daily routine on our shifts together. I began packing a decoy lunch with half-eaten items or empty wrappers. This gave me the opportunity to eat my real lunch without her bothering me. By week 4, it's our mid-season evaluation. There's 2 parts, physical evaluation and professional evaluation. District manager does the physical, and it's straightforward. All employees show up at the beach before it opens. You run 4 kilometers, swim 600 meters, paddle 2 kilometers, etc. Apparently, I embarrassed Maggie. I was the most improved from the start of the season to end of season. I was already in the top 25%, but now I was physically one of the top 5%. Maggie, however, got worse. A lot worse. She was mediocre, but in the general top 50%, but was now one of the worst physical guards, bottom 10%. All her times were substantially lower. But luckily for her, it's not all physical. There's still the professional evaluation. The beach captain who works with you the most writes up your evaluation. You get a score out of 50. 10 5-point characteristics, punctual customer service, safety, etc. You get graded and short notes are written to explain your score. At the bottom, there's a recommendation section on what to do work on. One of the other beach captains who tolerated Maggie wrote her evaluation, and it wasn't all bad. Of course, Maggie was the one who wrote my evaluation, despite only working with me a few times. I don't get to see it, which is normal, and when it's done, she passes it to the boss. Once it's handed in, the district manager pulls Maggie and I aside. He rips it up in front of us and says, "Maggie, this isn't a real evaluation. You gave him all zeros. Your notes are incoherent, and in the recommendation section, you told him to leave and never come back. This is not acceptable. I've worked with him more than you did. I'm going to write up the mid-season evaluation." Maggie breaks down in tears, plays the victim that the outsider is taking her job and she's protecting herself. Manager's not buying it, but she ultimately goes easier on her. Temper is cool. I get a modest review with things to improve on. Right away, I knew this would happen again, and I'd need to make notes to defend myself. I have a reputation in the life-saving community I'd like to keep. Things got even more weird after this, aside from umpteen mentions of calling me rookie against my wishes. My notebook was getting filled. Some highlights include, she stole my rooster ketchup with a green top and lathered her hot dog, only to get upset with me. She wrote me up for poisoning her with hot sauces, though really she stole my sriracha. She took her top off in front of me and in full view of kids, because she had to air out the girl. Went on a walking patrol down the beach for 2 hours only to end up hanging out with her friends drinking on the beach and having a fire. Double no. Called her dealer to deliver joints to her while on guard, not even discreetly. I taught the jar guards some basic stuff. Once the class is over, she goes up to the parents and tells them I taught all wrong things and it's actually done this way instead. On a particularly bad day, she berated the middle-aged gentleman with Down syndrome, who normally brings treats to her because he didn't bring any treats on this day. Things were cartoonishly stupid. Why would someone act this way? Turns out she was also bashing me to the other guards. They'd regularly inform me of stuff like this. "Hey, just so you know, Maggie told me you hit someone's car with a hammer. Obviously you didn't, but heads up. She's telling locals about it. What did I get myself into? This is ridiculous. My summer paradise at the most beautiful place on earth is ruined by a succubus leeching off of inner peace. I was at my end. This isn't worth it. I want to go home. I'm belittled by an entitled brat, and I don't need this as much as they need me. I'm going to sleep it off and think with a clear head in the morning." Note, this place is a sleepy beach town. It's heavily wooded and not many cell towers. Reception isn't great. Also, it's a hot summer. I live alone. I hate pants. When I'm home, I'm probably naked. And the lock on the door isn't great. It works, but with a bit of effort, you can get past it. We basically put an exterior padlock on the door when we're away for extended periods. But hey, no one knows anyone's living here, right? Who's going to bother me in the middle of nowhere? 5:30 a.m.? Bam. 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 What's happening? Bam. Bam. Then the door opens. Answer your phone. I've been calling you all night. Why are you shirtless? That's gross. You have to work at the beach further away today. I've got an appointment I've had scheduled for months and can't change it. You need to go there, or I won't be back in time. Wait, what's going on? Why is she in my house right now? I thought to myself as I startled and jumped up trying to wear my shirt. I raised my temper and got her out of my home as quickly as possible and said to myself, "That's it, I'm done. This isn't worth it." I call my district manager, tell him the rundown of what's been happening lately. Initially, he thought I might be embellishing the truth a bit because it's also ridiculous. He tells me if I go to work, there's 2 weeks left in the contract. He'll make sure Maggie and I don't work together anymore as long as I can stick around. Later on, I'm begrudgingly working at the beach further away, and we get a call. It's the district manager. "Hey, man, I owe you an apology. I thought you were making this stuff up. Maggie just called to report you for yelling at her." As she explained this, she admitted to walking into your home. "What do you want to do about this, district manager?" Which beach captain or alternate had worked with Maggie the most this summer? "Oh, looks like it's you by a fair bit. Is she allowed to do my end-of-season evaluation?" "No, because of what she did with your mid-season. We've decided that I would do it personally again." "Okay, great. Who gets to do hers then?" "Well, you can guess where this ended up. As Lux would have it, Maggie and I got to work together once more due to someone being sick. The whole time she's telling me I'm going to make your review so bad, you're going to wish you never came here, rookie." At that point, I just smiled with a big grin. The summer may have its last on, but this will be the end of you, Maggie. Writing up Maggie's end-of-season evaluation was between the supervisor and I. The rest of the staff were unaware of this. So I used the final days talking to the staff. What's the weirdest thing Maggie did to you this summer? Here's the highlights. Stole the pretty boy guard's car keys at the end of the day to keep him around because she was flirting with him. He had to go right to the hospital to visit his mom. Gradually, through the course of a day, she spiked the 16 guard's work water bottle with vodka. He'd never been drunk before and had to drive home. After hours, she went to a lifeguard. Girls' night out and skipped out on the bill. No, she wasn't invited again after that. I'm composing her end-of-season evaluation. I'm smart about it. I grade reasonably well with things. To her credit, she was good at. She improved her swimming skills, which is something after all. But everything else, I avoid grading a 1 as much as possible to avoid looking like I'm purposely out to get her. More than just grading. I'm providing written documentation to back this up. I've got my journal of hellish Maggie moments, my coworkers' experiences with her, and I've been smart enough to make copies of our notes from patrons with her mention. But the coup de grace recommendations for next season: recommend not to reoffer beach captain or alternate beach captain position next season. Recommend awarding scholarship to someone else in the service. Not long after this gets submitted, I get a call from the head boss senior manager who hasn't been made privy to Maggie and I's situation. Hey, I've known you for a few years. I'm reading Maggie's end-of-season evaluation, and there are some serious allegations here. Her family will likely rebuke this and make it a problem for my office. Not giving her this scholarship sounds harsh. Do you have any documentation to back up any of this? Do you really think she deserves this? Well, sir, that's ultimately up to you. Here are notes and times from the entire team. Feel free to call any of them. Here's the footage from my trail cam of her breaking into my home at 5:30 in the morning. Here's the contact info for the Down syndrome gentleman whom she berated. Here's the reports patrons have made about her. Oh, this is bad. Well, thanks for being so thorough with this. Epilogue. Well, word got to her she wouldn't be receiving her scholarship. Instead, it went to an incredibly nice and hard worker in another district. Maggie's mom complained for a while about cum from always taking all the jobs, but then she heard how Maggie treated the gentleman with Down syndrome. She may have been the town's princess, but that man was the salt of the earth and immune to any harsh treatment. Needless to say, Maggie didn't come to the age of. The next year, I was knee-deep in my actual career and didn't re-enroll in the lifeguard service, but offered my services as a substitute. One of the guards I liked last year calls me to see if I can sub for them for a weekend. I decided I'll do it as long as Maggie isn't working. He laughs and says no, but she's on staff as a regular lifeguard. Well, Maggie wasn't working, but her husband was, this can't be good. Our first interaction was kind of amazing.
Wait, are you X?
She asks, using my real name. Yes. I prepare myself for a day of harassment. Oh, man, you are awesome. Maggie and her mom hate you. They're so mean, our family hates them. She's so entitled and makes us look bad. You're like a legend around here. Well, this is a change of pace from what I was expecting. We became friends over the course of the day, and she explained to me that Maggie thought her scholarship was a sure thing. Her mom pulled strings for her to get it, and it fell through, so she never saved any money for school. Maggie's plans of getting into nursing didn't work out. Maggie's mom took a lateral promotion in the life-saving world. That new position didn't last, and she was laid off only to go back to her old pool as the assistant to the person who took over her job. She wasn't able to pull in more strings after that. Last time I checked, Maggie went to community college and took a less expensive continuing care attendant course with the plan of eventually jumping over to nursing when she saved some money. Unfortunately for her, the instructors weren't crazy about her better than attitude, and she was kicked out of the course sometime in second year. Last time I saw her, she was working at the summer ice cream stand by the beach I visited on a lovely vacation to one of the most beautiful places in the world. Back during the 90s in the UK, when you're in your final years of secondary education, or you could call it your GCSE years, the schools did something called workplace experience. This was basically where you find a job where you spend 2 weeks experiencing work after you leave school. Even then, I found it pointless for many reasons. In my case, I couldn't find a job that would accept me, so the school went looking and found one for me. To make note, I wasn't the only one the school had to help on this. Well, the school found me a placement in the office at a dedicated mechanics education school. Basically, it was a mechanics shop like any other, but where the mechanics working on your car van are students training for their mechanics qualifications. While I was there, I wasn't allowed to do much. Like they didn't want me there at all, so I was given menial tasks. Deliver documents to offices next door, fetch coffee, use the franking machine, and other stuff. It was like they just volunteered me to do stuff they didn't want me to do. However, when it came down to it, it was mostly simple, easy jobs. Apart from fetching coffee from the staff kitchen, they had this little room which was called the mail room. It wasn't big. I could stand in the middle of the room and touch all 4 walls. There was a desk attached to the wall and a shelf above it with a bunch of mailing bags. The usual stuff you'd find in a mailroom of an office. In this case, there was a franking machine in the middle of the desk with 2 baskets to one side used for placing mail ready for franking. One for first-class postage and the other for second class. For those not in the know as to what a franking machine is, you'd have better luck looking them up. But I'll give you the footnote. When you get mail and you see in the top right printed markings instead of a postage stamp, that is where the franking machine comes in. Businesses can go to Royal Mail and bulk buy postage or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how it works. The franking machines print those postage details onto the envelopes instead of a person going through the hassle of removing postage stamps from the stamp books and making sure to stick it in the correct place on the envelope. With the machine, the job's done quickly. So down to the malicious compliance. As you have figured out, this compliance was with the franking machine. I was taught how to use the machine. It was already pre-programmed with what to print. All I had to do was select whether to print first or second-class postage. Then I would slot an envelope into one side like I was swiping a bank card to pay for groceries. After the envelope enters the machine by a certain amount, the machine activates and pulls the envelope through. I soon found out that this machine had a temper. Sometimes it would take its time pulling the envelopes through, other times it'd yank the envelope out of your hand and shoot it against the wall. Surprisingly, with an intact, properly printed frank mark, one day I was told, go do the mail, and so I did. I slotted an envelope into the machine, and it did its usual. However, with one new result, it had sliced open the envelope, as in you can remove the letters, etc. From inside the envelope, like someone had just opened their mail with one of those letter opener knives, I grabbed the envelope and went to my boss. The following conversation isn't exact, but you get the idea. Boss, what do you want? Surely you haven't finished with the mail already. Me, no, I barely started. Boss, then go and finish it. Me, I can't. There's a problem with the franking machine. Boss, there's always a problem with it. Just go back and finish posting the mail. Me, but it's slicing the envelopes open. I tried to show her the sliced envelope. Boss, ignoring the envelope, she said, just frank the mail, will you? Or is that too difficult of a job for someone learning how businesses work? Me, okay, but it's not my fault if something bad happens. I turned and returned to the mailroom. Along the way, I grabbed some paper and wrote on it that I apologized for the damaged envelopes, that the machine was slicing them open, and that my boss refused to listen to me about it. Then I proceeded to put envelope after envelope through the machine. Everyone came out sliced open. I must have done a couple hundred of them for first class alone. Once done, I didn't put them in mail bags. I just neatly piled them at the side of the machine with the letter on top. About half an hour before the end of my shift, someone came into the office carrying several of the envelopes in my letter. I quickly found out that he was the boss of the business, as in the highest position. He'd apparently stepped into the mailroom with a few of his own letters for franking and found the pile. After arguing with my boss and me being blamed for it like I was snooping into every envelope to see what I could find, so I volunteered to show what was happening. My boss and her boss grudgingly accepted my offer, so I grabbed a sheet of plain paper from the nearest fax machine and a fresh envelope. Putting the paper in the envelope, I asked Big Boss to seal it as confirmation that it's sealed. I then led them both to the mailroom. At arm's length so they can both watch me, I gently slotted it into the machine until the machine took over. Sure enough, the machine coughed out a freshly sliced envelope. Then my boss tried telling me off for not telling her, only for me to say that I tried, but she refused to listen. I only did what I was told. I was let off in the end. The next day, the machine was unplugged, so nothing was getting posted. The day after that, there was a couple of piles of postage stamp books, which of course I had to stick on the envelopes. When I returned from my second week there, I was shown how to use a brand new machine. This new machine was a dream. Just imagine you had spent 10 years driving the same car until it was falling apart, and then you finally upgraded to a new car that is so new. The mileage on it was still double-digit. Until I left that place, I was still given menial tasks, but my boss never ignored me again. A few years after leaving school, that business closed up shop. The building then got taken over by big brand tire company that also did moats, alignments, etc.